No, so I grabbed the page.
I love that.
So
halfway through, you reach over and grab a page.
So everybody that's listening, the way the recording process goes, Randy comes into the studio with a bunch of talks that he's working on, that he's tweaking, and it's the first time I'm hearing it too. So I don't get to process all. It's not like I get to listen to these 5 or 6 times and go, all right, let me build questions for the next time. He comes in, he says it, and I try to. Anything I agree with, I go, okay, great, that's awesome. And the things I don't understand, I wouldn't say I don't agree with, but things I don't understand, I try to pick. And that's how you get the conversations that we have here and there. And you said this line, and I wanted to quote it correctly, that the rate of change must be faster, the faster it gets to the human heart. And I'm also very slow with comprehension I can't say slow with comprehension. It's one of those things I have to work through certain things if I don't understand it. And I'm curious how that relates to it. Like the process, the rate of change must be faster, the faster it gets to the human heart.
The closer
it gets. So we're taking a physical thing and then turning the physical aspect of change to, is it emotional, religious? I'm trying to find how it goes from that, if that makes sense.
So I use the human heart. Like I could say the rate of change has to be faster the closer it gets to the individual person.
Okay.
I'm using that as kind of like dramatic language. The closer it gets to your heart, the closer it is to you. So in the example that, if you're employed by a business, if you're not keeping up with the rate of change of the business, you're going to be unemployed.
You're out.
Right. You'll be out. Because they'll go, they're not keeping up. My gosh, like we're moving along here and you're like 3 steps back. So the person, if you want to excel within the business, you're learning more faster than other people around you within the business, and you'll slowly just rise up through the ranks. It really is this simple. I always tell people if you can rise to the top of any business by learning every single rule within that business.
I see.
It's just that simple. And in order to learn that, you have to change who you are, change your thinking, learn more things. Right. So the rate of change, like in other words, like if you hear the stories of people come in, they're the janitor, now they're the CEO. Well, how do they go from the janitor to the CEO? Well, they first learn how to mop the floors. Then when they learn how to do that, then they learn how to run the cash register. Then they learn how to manage the back office of the cash register. Then they learn how to, and it just kept doing that until all of a sudden they can know everything that goes on within that organization. And all of a sudden they're the best choice to run this organization because you know all the moving parts right to mopping the floor.
Interesting.
Right. So the rate of change, this is what I'm talking about. Learning new things, changing quickly, adapting, because the world around us is changing. Nobody can stop the rate of change in the outside world. It is just happening naturally. So if businesses within the outside world aren't changing faster to adapt to the outside world, the business is going to go out of business. I mean, you remember a while back that Kodak, Kodak, the Polaroid, right? Yeah. Polaroid. Well, Polaroid didn't adapt fast enough, and they slowly just kind of dwindled out. They didn't adapt to all the digital stuff.
And now it's vintage.
Right. Yeah. Now they're reinventing themselves. Right.
Yeah.
But Polaroid, Kodak, they had troubles. They weren't changing fast enough. And then other companies came in and they squashed them right out. They pushed them out of the space because they didn't reinvent fast enough. The world was changing. They weren't changing faster than that. So they were slowly becoming obsolete, just like that. And then within an organization, if the people aren't changing faster than the business, they're becoming unemployed. I've seen it happen at the winery already. I've seen young people come in the system and they start working there, and they get in like a zone where all they do is one specific thing and they do nothing other than that. They don't last very long.
Or they want to get paid for something different, like in that regard. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, I had a young person say to me this maybe a week ago. They didn't say it to me, but they said it to other, Jeff and so on. We wanted to do another job. They go, well, are you going to pay me more to do this? Oh my goodness, we got to end that. I mean, entitled attitudes don't go very far in this world. And anybody that thinks that, well, you hired me to do this job, and if you want me to fold that paper, I'm not doing that. You better pay me more. And those type of people never make it far in this world. It's like if you want more, simply add more. That's the way it works. If you want more value in this world, add more value to the world. You'll get more value from the world. You can't say, well, give me more, then I'll give you more. That would be like walking up to a fireplace going, give me heat, and then I'll start the fire.
It doesn't work that way.
Right. It's so goofy. Give me heat, fireplace, and I'll light the wood then. It's like, no, you do the work and then you get the return. That's the way it works.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. and this is it's in the same conversation. Now I'm just curious to kind of get your input, right? Because now everything's in the news and I'm sure you hear it if you've watched it, like just AI technology taking over all of these people's jobs. And,
Sure.
And in the film industry and the entertainment industry, you got all these people on strike now. The Writers Guild. Why would I pay a writer a $250,000 retainer when I could pay a $25 a month subscription for an AI platform to literally fine tune me a film script? And I think that's like this debate.
Yeah.
I've kind of solidified myself in an opinion of like why I think the AI process won't work, even though it does. It's there, but why by simply implementing that change into a business, the business goes downhill. But I'm curious to hear your aspect behind it. The bad, well, just in general, I'm not even going to say the bad. Do you feel that there's a benefit of automating and replacing the human element with a computerized system? And I know this is a very drastic change, but it's in the conversation of change. But so I'm curious to hear AI in the wine industry. Do you feel from a wine perspective, that's something that will change drastically in your industry, or that doesn't really affect your industry?
So if you talk about wine specifically, a big draw that Tiff and I had of the wine world is that wine hasn't changed since the beginning of time. Like, you know, because the medical world, the medical business changes every 30 days, huge. Like the way the billing works, all that stuff. It's a very complicated interwoven network that if you're not learning constantly, figuring out how does it work today, you're going to be out of business. In the wine world, you know, you got grapes that go to juice and juice goes to wine and you stabilize the wine. It hasn't changed. And wine is really about relationships and connection. You know, wine is about dinner around the table with your family and have a glass of wine and we're talking, we're communicating. So wine's more about the human connection than the physical product.
Okay.
So I feel like I'm pretty safe from this stuff. But at the same time, Ralph, I will use every technology I possibly can to make the place better.
I see.
Yeah. You know, and when it comes to the AI stuff in the whole entertainment world, I feel like they should be careful right now. Because like in some ways, remember when the horse and buggies replaced with the cars? And there were people that were in the whip business for horses.
And they lost.
Right. All of a sudden, there's no more horses to be whipping.
And I think that's where the scary, it's tens of thousands of people, like right now, picketing in LA for my industry because of it. But I see both ends of it, right? Like, and I'm only saying that because I've been asked this question so many times, and I'm like, well, I'm sure for my industry, that's where it is. But for other industries, it's not as drastic or as guaranteed, but it's because of this introduction of AI. I believe that it is. There it's saying it's fair wages and all this stuff, but somehow the root of the problem is the film industry. And you and I had this conversation, even when we first met, how I've always said the film industry is so inflated that that eventually it has to crash. Like it has to crash. It's so inflated. Like you have people on $1 million retainers just to answer their phone. Like things just don't make sense. Like that doesn't constitute anything. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, of course.
Just because so you can answer your phone, I have to pay you this amount. That aspect doesn't make sense. But that's another whole conversation. But it all comes down to the root of the problem of these companies that are like, no, this is the service that we're providing. What makes a good movie? They've kind of figured it out. Like what makes a good movie? What makes a bad movie? We're seeing it now in today's day and age. The reason why hits in the box office aren't happening, the type of content's being created. People aren't into seeing that. They want to see this and so on and so forth. So the structure's been set and everything's been set. Does this make a good movie? Yes. Well, now there's a technology that can replace that human. And instead of paying someone a $250,000 retainer so you can live in your house in Agora Hills and have this and that, all we're doing now is we're putting you on a salary base to just oversee the application. And a lot of people are starting to really like, they're replaceable. Right. We're in an industry where it wasn't replaceable. Same thing in the car industry. Guess what? Those whip people that were making the whips for it, it's replaceable because now it's no longer needed.
Right. I don't know if anyone can stop this, Ralph.
No, I don't either.
I mean,
so
the world is changing around us, and if we don't adapt, the one thing that AI will never replace is the human connection.
It can't.
It can't.
And when it does, we got a problem. But if it does, we got a problem.
People will try to, but they're going to feel a sense of emptiness and so on. And in that breath, you and I right here, right now in this podcast room, we are connecting with each other and with the people around us. So AI could never write a podcast the way we do it. They can't get the feeling. AI can't capture the essence of the human.
The structure of it, I like. I use AI for even like naming some of the podcasts. If I'm sitting here and I'm like, I can't even think of a good 2 paragraphs to understand. So it's like, help me create, like I literally say like, what's this with this? And then I take your conversation and I go, okay, this is relatable. Let me build the structure and the template for it. So now I have a thought a fully expressed answer that's using, you know what I mean? AI is not writing it. It's just, here's the template for it that makes something good and implementing your words.
Yeah.
That tool is interesting. Yeah. That's an interesting concept. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get it.
So it's good and bad.
It is
across the board.
Yeah. I think though, like, you know how like my children now, they grew up being able to touch a screen.
That's
when we grew up, that wasn't possible.
Playing kick the can.
Right. And I remember the first time I ever held an iPhone and I put my finger on it and the screen moved around like, it's magic. Well, to the kids, it's just what happens.
It's normal.
So it's normal. I really think that our children will be able to later in life, 10 years out from now, after AI has been all around forever, they're going to be able to watch a movie and go, this was created by AI. This one wasn't. There's going to be able to be we're going to develop a differentiation between these two and it'll be very vivid. And people are going to naturally want to see the real deal. They're going to see authenticity, not something that a computer just spit out at you because this is what makes sense based upon all the stuff that we got. In fact, I tried to use AI to create the title of my book.
Really?
I put the whole book. I put the entire book into an AI generator, said, give me a title. And it gave me about 1,000 titles. And they all kind of made sense. But AI did not think of exposing the roots.
Yeah.
And
it gives you the idea. You was Randy Detrick. It's like, there's 1,000 titles, 1,000 ideas. It's like, I could see this, I could see this, I could see this. But what's the true message of it? An AI can't tell you the true message of a story.
It could not see it. Because it can't see the condition of the human heart.
Yeah.
It can't see that.
And that's where I think when you said this, the rate of change faster, the closer it gets to the human heart is where like, that's where my head went when you said it. And it was almost like, really, the rate of change is happening so fast. How does that relate to it? And I think that kind of clarified the whole, it took me a very long time to get to it, but to get to there.
But it is tough. I mean, there are jobs that just won't exist in the future. And there are. I mean, I think one day we're all going to walk into a grocery store, pick out whatever you want, walk out the door, and not even have to walk through a checkout.
They have that already. Amazon does it.
It's just that simple. I mean, there'll be a day where you won't go to the grocery store. You know, like that's happening now too. I mean, the rate of change. I mean, the other day we were talking about theft within businesses because I was reading an article about how Walmart, like, there's so much theft at Walmart. And they calculate it in based upon their profit margins, what they need to sell things through based upon how much to be sold. And I go, guess what? Amazon has no customer theft because there's no one in there shopping the warehouses.
Well, they're keeping businesses accountable too, because if so-and-so doesn't get the product and it's on you're connecting the dots at that point. It's here, 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 and here. Right. They didn't get it because of this. Okay, it's not on you, it's on them. But if it comes down to you, guess what? You're the one that gets screwed. So it's holding people, not screwed, but it holds you accountable for it. So everything's all about accountability. I think it's starting to expose that to the world, how many the people that were doing things, trying to cut corners and do all this stuff, now it's coming to fruition of like, you got away with it for a very long time, but now the truth's here. Guess what? Like, time to answer.
I'm with you.
So,
but yeah, I mean, I would say rate of change, this is why you'll always hear me listen to the books. You'll always hear me listen to the podcast because I want to keep up with the rate of change. And I want to, when you change fast like this, it puts you in a world of creativity, because creativity, like we say in the underground, it's seeing what everybody sees, but thinking what no one has thought. And in order to think what no one has thought, you need to have things in your head that no one else has in their head. It's connecting the dots that are unseemly connectable. And when you're constantly pouring new knowledge information in your head, you'll stay ahead of the curve of the world.
It's a good way to end it.
I'm with you.
Amen.
With you.